guys, down here in San Antonio, and kind of a interesting day for me. Everybody talks about their why. When we talk about business, we talk about why do we do it, what's our drive, what's our initiative, what's our motivation. And I'm going to share with you mine. Came down here because today is October 11th, right? October 11th, and tomorrow, excuse the wind, tomorrow is October 12th, and tomorrow marks 19 years that one of my soldiers and best friends was killed on the USS Cole, October 12th of 2000. And anyways, I came down here to have a chat with him. He's kind of the driving force behind what keeps me going on a daily basis. It's somebody I think about often, and started off as friends. We served pretty much our entire enlistment together, minus about 6 months, and then I ranked up faster than he did, and he became one of my soldiers as I outranked him and got my NCO stripes. And anyways, godfather to my son. When he died, I didn't replace him as the godfather. But anyways, it's something that what's your drive, right? I'll be honest with you. This is the first time I visited his grave since he died, and it's kind of interesting that I came down here because I think we left everything on a really bad note. We started off as friends, and then I don't know. There's life happens, right? So as I outranked him, my senior officers told me I couldn't be friends with enlisted soldiers, and I told him we couldn't be friends anymore, even though we were friends for 3 years before that, right? Anyways, it's a good kick in the junk, right? So anyways, I'm gonna turn this around. I want you guys to meet Gary. If I can get you in there. Swiss. Oops. Golly. Left is right, right is left. Nope, which way am I? Oh, here we go. Oh, let's do it this way. Yep. Oh my gosh, it's backwards. Gary Swin Jonas, right? I'll attach a picture. I'm going to tell you about Swiss. Because it's important. Swiss is from down here in Texas, and we started off together. One of the nicest guys you would ever meet, right? Didn't swear. Anyhow, he was the good, right? So as he became my soldier, instead of my friend, we were soldiers together, and then he became my soldier. He really tested my leadership abilities because he felt in his mind that he should have been promoted instead of me, and that was kind of a true, real test. As far as we're all young, and for some reason they chose me instead of him, and then he became kind of a pain in the ass to me. And anyways, he did a lot of bad stuff, right? Not bad, but he just broke the rules all the time. And one of the last things I did before we got out was I submitted him for an Article 15, and he lost rank, right? So let's see, I was an E6 when I got out. He was a E4 specialist, and anyways, I ended up working through an Article 15 with him to reduce him from Spec 4 specialist to PFC, and that's what it says on his gravestone, right? Now, thinking back, there's a lot of things to think back on, right? And we all, in leadership positions, we make decisions every day, and sometimes we take them lightly when we shouldn't, and sometimes we put a little bit more thought process into them than we should. But in this case, every day, if I look at his gravestone, it says PFC U.S. Army, and I had him demoted. I mean, I can't demote him directly, but he was demoted based off of a bad haircut. And this it kind of haunts me all the time, right? because my bad leadership decision actually is etched in stone on his gravestone. And I don't ever forget the last things he told me is that friendships are forever. And he told me that we weren't friends anymore, right? And I said we couldn't be friends at one point, and he said we weren't friends when we parted ways. But and then he left the Army and he joined the Navy, and then he was killed on the USS Cole, October 12th of 2000. So anyhow, I mean, there's a lot to be said, right? In just people and the people that we deal with and what causes our drive. And for 19 years, right, going on 19 years tomorrow, I think about Swiss pretty regularly. And I think about, one, how kind he was. The guy never swore. He was very meaningful in what he said, how he said it, and he treated everybody with respect. And then two, what drives us to how do you say this? What drives us to the end result, right? What's our vision? How are we going to get from point A to point B? Does it make sense? Maybe what we're trying to accomplish isn't necessary. And I think back to the USS Cole and the USS Cole bombing, and I kind of find it humorous that if you ask people today, 19 years, going on 19 years later, about the USS Cole, a lot of people aren't even aware of it. The younger people, they don't know, and that's a shame, because in my mind, I kind of think that Gary died for nothing. And I think that a whole bunch of the stuff that we did back then, when we served together, what was the value of that, right? And that's kind of a tough, thing to live with, right? And I didn't plan any of this. I didn't write any of it out. I'm just kind of going off the cuff. But a little bit of background. Swiss was the godfather of my kid. And every day I think about tough decisions as they happen, and I wonder what would Swiss do, right? Because he was always somebody who would think about every aspect of a decision before he made one. He wasn't ever quick to make a decision. He was always very conscious to make the right one. And I'm very envious of that as a leader, I don't know. I always try and be better, right? So I would say probably no less than 2, 3, 4 times a week, sometimes every day, I think about Swiss, and I think about him for a multitude of reasons. But one, I should have been a better friend to him than he was to me. He was always my friend, and he was my friend all of the time, and I was his friend when it was convenient, and that's pretty unfair. I think about what did he die for, right? And I'm not trying to go on a rant, but a lot of I don't know. Seems like a lot of foolishness. One of the things that people don't know about me is when I in-processed into the VA. I don't know, it was probably 7-8 years ago. I reached out to the VA and I in-processed into the medical system, and things weren't great back then, right? Anyways, when I in-processed, they looked at my medical records and they said that I had to see a therapist, right? Shrink, whatever you want to call them. And they looked at just based on my service history and everything else, that was part of the requirement of me onboarding, and I went through this process of seeing a shrink every 2 weeks, and I guess I didn't realize the severity of my mental thoughts, right? And initially when they onboarded into their system, right, or the VA system, um, the shrink or whatever, they were quick to tell me that I was suffering from depression. And I'm not a very depressed person, or I don't see myself like as that. And I argued with them all the time that I don't suffer from depression. I suffer from disappointment. And those are two things that are the waters are muddy a lot when it comes to the difference. And I think a lot of people actually suffer from disappointment, not necessarily depression. I think that a lot of people assume or work towards something that in the end, when they achieve it, may not be what they envisioned it to be. And that's where I was at in my life, was getting out of the military, striving to be something, trying to accomplish my vision, and then realizing that the people were entitled, right? Selfish, entitled. The public, I think a lot of people who know me closely know that I don't like people in general. And the reason why I don't like people in general is because of their selfishness and entitlement. And that's not what I signed up for. That sure isn't what Gary Swiss signed up for. We signed up to protect something, to provide something better, and we assumed that we were doing something good for others, when in the end, I think it was for nothing. All right, that's sad, because I'm standing in a cemetery full of graves, and all these people signed a contract to do something to improve their country, right? Let's see if you can see this, right? Look at all these people died. Some of them died of old age. A lot of them didn't. A lot of them just died because they thought they were defending you, everybody else. And it's pretty sad when you think about it, that these brothers and sisters and daughters and sons, moms and dads, they did something that a lot of people aren't willing to do, right? Yeah. Anyhow, I'm going to say a couple of words to Gary here, and I'm inviting you into my conversation today. And part of this was I talked to the VA, and I talked to my shrink. She doesn't call herself a shrink, but she recommended that I get closure because I've been missing one of my best friends ever for 19 years. Okay, and anyways, I'm going to invite you guys into something real personal. I'm going to have a little chat with Gary Swiss, and I'm inviting you into that conversation. And it's not from a point of bragging. It's not from a point of I don't know. It's because I want you guys to see, right? I want you guys to see that next time you take your kids to a movie and out to eat, the next time you go out and you're bitching about gas prices, that somebody fucking died for this, right? A lot of people did. And just think about that. What's the cost? I think it's too much, right? Anyways, I'm gonna say a couple of things to Gary, and I'm gonna turn this recording off, and I'll post this so everybody can see it. And just know that my why is every day is for Gary and my other soldiers that died. And it's not for you, right? I mean, honest to God, the American public, everybody's so fucking selfish, and it's pathetic. It's kind of sickening. But anyways, I'm not gonna get up on my soapbox about that. But anyways, I'm gonna leave this running. If you guys don't want to hear that part of it, you can turn off the video. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a brief chat with my friend and then head on. And I guess that's what it is. So, anyhow, this is kind of uncomfortable. I don't know where to start, man. I think I gotta start off where we left, and I have to start off with an apology, because I think the last time we talked, you told me that you were going into the Navy, and I think I kind of told you that was the dumbest thing you could do. You told me you were going to be a firefighter, and I didn't really see it. I think you did well. I think you did as well as you could. There's a lot of things that I'm sorry for. I'm sorry you died. I mean, kind of angry a little bit. I kept you in the rear when we would deploy, and I know you hated that, but I did it for a reason. I did it to keep you safe, and then you went and got yourself killed. So I guess that's a starting point, and I don't know how much you know. I don't know what's shared with your family. I talked to your mother, and your mom and dad, took it real hard. But there's a lot that's happened in the world since you died, and I'm talking on a cell phone. How those weren't really a big thing back then. But I'm kind of, I don't know how to say this, but I'm kind of glad you don't see what I see every day. I think the world has turned into a different place than you and I both signed up and fought for. So maybe that's a good thing. I think about you a lot. Andrew, you remember Andrew, right? Andrew's 20 now, and he's doing good. I mean, I remember how, after he was born, he loved you. He was just a baby, and you'd pick him up and he'd smile, and you just had a way with him. Anyways, he's doing good, and I think you'd be proud of him, Kept you as his godfather just because it didn't seem right after he died to try and choose somebody else. And honestly, I thought about it and I said, well, I don't know, seemed kind of pointless to me, right? Whole godfather thing, and all of it just seemed foolish. I think about our relationship. I think about the times that we had, and I think about the good and the bad. But the good was really good. All right. I mean, you have to know, man, that people just aren't like you, right? You always made me want to be better because you were just so good, right? Not good. I mean, not good at your job. You're just a good person. And anyhow, So I mentioned to Lois and I mentioned to Wells and all the other guys that I was coming out here, and I asked them to come visit you because I don't think we've done our part. Your mom and your dad are coming out tomorrow. Your family's coming out tomorrow, rather. But I don't think you get visited as much as you should. I think you did. You gave more than we were willing to give. And we, I don't know. We did it. Part of me is angry with you. I mean, I think when I think back, I think about how I trained you right. First in, last out. Give it everything, give it all you got. Selfishly, I think that's what got you killed. I mean, I'm sure you were gung-ho to get in there and save the day and do your job. I mean, I just don't know if it was worth it. I really don't think it was. God, there's so many things that are going through my mind. Let's see, me, I don't know, I kind of struggled when I got out of the military. Didn't really have a plan. Did a whole bunch of different things and ended up all right. I mean, yeah, it isn't about me. Wish I could have done more for you. Wish I could have, I don't know. I know I got on you. Jesus. Yeah, I got on you for the right reasons, man. There wasn't a push-up you did that you didn't deserve to do. But part of me regrets the fact that I kind of feel like I gave up on you a little bit. I don't know. I think I talked you into getting out of the military, or getting out of the Army anyways. And I remember that conversation a little bit. You wanted to see more of a first-hand experience, frontline, forward operator, and I told you that wasn't going to happen, and it wasn't going to happen, right? I think you got out of the Army and joined the Navy because you were trying to prove something, and maybe you're trying to prove something to yourself, or trying to prove it to me, or trying to prove everybody wrong, or whatever that looks like. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you're sitting here and can't think of a good reason why at this point. I mean, fast forward, we didn't know it was going to be like this today. Kind of glad you can't see it. And it's just getting worse. I mean, yeah, it's not getting better. Anyways, we got some cool shit, right? So one of the things that was new back then was the internet, right? And this video Swiss is going to go out on Facebook. That wasn't around back then. And Facebook's kind of fun because anybody with remote control of the internet can be an expert nowadays. And this video is going to go up on Facebook. And people don't really get to know each other anymore. They just digitally know each other. They digitally argue with each other, and then they digitally hate each other. Kind of do that for a living now, which is kind of funny, right? I sit behind a computer all day, and I don't think that people realize, the difference of 20 years, right? But anyways, a whole bunch of stuff has changed, right? And some of it's changed for the better, some of it hasn't. They're still fighting the same fights. Nobody ever agrees I don't know that anything good has happened. I think a whole lot of bad has happened. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for a lot of things. The bad things that I did as a leader with my troops, Rolo, you, taught me to be a better leader, if that makes any sense. I mean, I always thought I was so goddamn right about everything. Everybody else was wrong. So I guess maybe that's sacrifice. Maybe that was part of the sacrifice. Maybe that's what it took to teach me that I didn't know everything. Kind of seems like a big sacrifice, man. I had something really cool planned for today, but the weather really. I brought you down some cool weather from Minnesota. Hope you enjoy it. You got kind of a nice view over here. There's a golf course over there. One thing I did want to say, and this is probably gonna, I don't know how to say this, but you and I had a conversation in 1997, I think. You were real religious, and I told you that there wasn't a God, and I don't know how I feel about that anymore, even today. But one thing I did want to say is, if there is a God, you better be standing right fucking next to him, right? Because he'd be the most deserving person for that role. I hope your God exists. I hope that somehow, in some way, your sacrifice was worth it for you. Because I don't see it. And I promised myself I wasn't going to do this, right? I hope that whatever your end vision was is what you're receiving right now. Because, fuck. Yeah. Anyways, talked to Lois, and he's over in Houston. He's going to come see you next week. I don't really talk to him that much anymore. Kind of seems like we went in different directions. I'll come see you more often. There's no reason I shouldn't. I think I was ashamed of myself. I think I was, kind of think I was a coward. I'm going to do better for you. I got to go, man. I'm going to think of more things to say. There's a lot. We're going to have more conversations.